if once again history repeats for our domination draft mocks between Na'Vi and Virtus Pro.
Does the Starlord get targeted? Are we going to see a Magneto getting targeted as well? Because it got to the point where Virtus Pro just banned the Starlord on the third map that these teams played against each other. What's it going to be? Instantly, it's a Jeff ban coming on for no surprises there. But do Na'Vi utilize the opportunity and punish the fact that you're so worried about Fate's Jeff that they guarantee themselves a one-sided Mantis for level 1 Crook?
Yeah, level 1 Croak loves some Mantis. And it's going to make these dives all the more difficult to try and deal with. Once again, we see Ultron protected here for Virtus Pro. And we know how Na'Vi have responded to this previously.
It's Flyers. Virtus Pro, triple strategist line or potentially Flyers. Na'Vi are going to force them now onto having to go for a Flyer-style composition. Jeff gets taken out. No Jeff, no Venom team up coming on through to be able to counter-dive Na'Vi if they decide to get aggressive. What is going to be the next ban line? Adam ban comes through from VP against Na'Vi. Invis woman, though, in case Virtus Pro do indeed try to put Phi onto something like the Human Torch or a Phoenix to play the off-angle guard control, or indeed a Namor if Na'Vi decide to go for dive and Virtus Pro look for the Hulk Namor to target it out.
Yeah, now with the Jeff being first banned as well, you're not forced to use your last ban on that Venom to shut down symbiotic shenanigans. And once more, it is going to be the Naga save for the Star-Lord. But how do you try and shut this one down? Potentially getting rid of the Invisible Woman? So
Invis, Luna, Mag, or Venom, if you're really worried about it. But the problem, yeah, I was going to say, if you ban out the Venom, you're just going to get a Captain America who's going to be able to do the exact same thing, only with more solo survivability. So removing that Luna is actually stronger for Virtus Pro, because now they're going to have one-sided idle aura for Phi to be able to match up. And I also like the fact as well, he's starting off on the Star-Lord rather than something that's easier for the Star-Lord to be able to target out, like a Phoenix or the Torch.
Yep, just having that evasion ready to go. It's a different draft, a similar one, but it's a brand new day. And it's a longer matchup here for Virtus Pro and Na'Vi. Stamina is going to play a role. Adaptability is going to play a role. But on Celestial Husk, everyone's going to come out 100% energy, raring and ready to go.
Oh, Na'Vi, though, going to be showing something a little bit newer on Celestial Husk too, because they were able to get that Mantis. I saw a Loki, and that's also going to mean that Phi on that Star-Lord is going to be up to the task of dealing with the doppelgangers, coming in with the AoE spin to be able to melt all of the doppelgangers down in one go.
Certainly is some good returns on those spins. I remember that Fate is going to have that team up here with the Mantis potentially.
Na'Vi, though, they're going to have faster ult bolts. They got the one-sided Mantis, so every single time the damage boost is onto Naga, he's always going to be leading 5 in terms of that ultimate charge, especially because he can be as aggressive as he wants. They got Rajaro on that Magneto to be able to bubble him.
Yeah. Going to be a lot of freedom to work with. Jerky's actually playing the Invisible Woman. This is not something we've seen from Jerky previously, usually picking up the Mantis, but of course the Ultron rather, but that is banned this time around. Damage boost onto Naga, not going too far to begin with, just playing a very reserved playstyle, waiting for Nevix to come on in. Already has used a Symbiotic Resilience. Now it's Trust Me's turn to move towards the other side. An attempted counter dive now by Virtus Pro, but spreading out the damage from a Blaster Barrage, means that Spark is in deep trouble up in the sky, and you can see that constant application of the Guardian Shield on to the Star-Lord to make sure that he stays in relative safety. Quick swing from Trust Me into the frenzied arrival. He's going to have to use their Symbiotic Resilience once again. It's just an all-out brawl for the first capture.
Oh, but he gets the Bulwark as well, just being able to avoid that sent his way. Terror Cape coming on through from Jojo. Now that the Terror Cape's on cooldown, Trust Me might be able to look for an aggressive dive, but Sparker going to be able to shut the space down with the Rage of Ultron coming on through. First, Na'Vi not giving up that position, though. They had the Loki regeneration domain to hold that position. They get the first pick off onto Phi. Damage boosted Feast of the Abyss at the same time forces Cypher's ultimate, and Na'Vi are in full control.
Galactic Legend gonna ring out. Sparker dips away from the incoming healing of Luna, knowing it's about to expire. The patty cake is strong inside of a Dagger Force dome, but I think the damage might well have been done here already to Virtus Pro. At this point, they're just stopping the initial capture to give away some additional 3 percentage points. And there was a really cool play from Rajaro there, using the jump pack from a rocket beacon in order to go up and use the metallic curtain in front of the Ultron. That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there could be an even better play coming in through from Rajaro in a matter of moments. Meteor M, to absorb pressure from Galactic Legend, potentially turned into Eternal Bond wipeout as well. Fate, with that regeneration domain, going to be back on cooldown too, to have the God of Mischief alongside the invisible boundary. They might not even need to use Meteor M against the Solid for that reason.
All right, Rajaro waiting to find something with the Meteor Ram inside the invisible boundary. An attempt to shut this one down. Drujo forced to move elsewhere to a safe position up in the sky. Fi has targets to raid. There was a gap in the regeneration domains, and now just healing up between the invisible boundary and the Guardian Shields as well. A pair of Guardian Shields is far too many to deal with here for Virtus Pro. Trust me, going to be forced to escape in the midst of all of this and back into the loving arms of the strategists and the Rage of Ultron also ready to go. It's Sparker moving forward, looking towards the back line. Jerky's deeply in danger, but Fate's ready to try and answer this one out already. Vincey's there with the finish onto Naga, but a quick dash away from the Invisible Woman gets her into invisible safety. Nevik's going to be forced to disengage as a level 1 Crook moves on forward. Na'Vi is still in control this entire time, by the way, and now they've carved through the remainder of Virtus Pro, who've already used so many of their resources.
Yeah, Soul Resurgence gives them the speed boost to be able to keep bouncing point, and not only that, aggressively run towards Saipe, who was so close to the fate of both worlds, which would allow Virtus Pro unparalleled sustain fight on the point and potentially find the flip. At least it means they'll have it up against the Star-Lord Galactic Legend coming into this next fight, but Na'Vi are just going to put so much pressure on the walk up and force them to use it before they're even on the point. At the moment, they're trying to hold on to it, but that just means that Fi gets left behind and picked.
Fi was nearly so evasive, moving through the mushrooms and the trees, but Naga was good on the follow-up, and the damage boost was even better, wrapping around the back. A Blaster Barrage is good to go when Spark is under siege. The cellular corrosion, I don't even know how that works onto metal, but Clintar still claims a life in its favor. A damage boost maybe, but no, it's just going to be the Terror Cape, meaning that Hanavi are a little bit more vulnerable inside of this invisible boundary, that are feeling nice and safe and secure. Meteor M ready to go as potentially the finishing blow towards this particular sub-map. Level 1 Crook dodges away from the Sonic Seduction. Grabbed in, Terracate and Fincy can convert. Inside of this, though, it's going to be a Meteor M dug directly on top of a Vanguard. Nevix and Fincy nowhere to be seen. The meters are there. The sustainability can't be brought forth. Even with the Eternal Bond, you just don't have that much real HP to work with on the side of Virtus Pro. Spark up above is raining down with the Rage of Ultron still, and I think that converts over onto Jerky, as trust me, just finds the dregs coming back in with the pentagram of Ferala. A last second contest from Virtus Pro, but Na'Vi is still in control, and they're going to be able to come back with their own portal if they so desire. Nevix had to use their Feast of the Abyss, tried to carve through Rajara. I think he may have bubbled himself there with the metallic bulwark. Multiple members of Virtus Pro have backed on off, and it's isolated them in the eyes of trust me, as surely Na'Vi are going to be able to clean this one up.
Oh, Galactic Legend, they might not need it. They managed to pick Saipe, who was again so close to fate of both worlds, and indeed, yeah, just pressure onto Virtus Pro's last remaining player trying to anchor the fort on the Doctor Strange, and Na'Vi will be able to pick up Celestial Vault with Galactic Legend still in hand. Big plays coming on through from them, but still closer than it was the last time that these two teams went head-to-head on domination, and a huge part of it is because Fi isn't just being melted the second he tries to show up for the aerial fight. Playing on the Star-Lord, yes, you have verticality, but you can also drop down to the low ground and actually receive the benefit of your Eternal Bond when you're recharging.
Yeah, getting that Eternal Bond can be everything. You can see Jerky once again going to be heading out with those extra packs. I wonder if Rashara is once more going to be able to grab this jump pack. I loved the rocket jump pack, then using the magnetic descent to slowly float in front of the Rage of Ultron and just no-sell all of that damage into the curtain.
I think my favorite use of the rocket jump pack was when a Magneto used it in Meteor M animation so that they were able to bounce over the shields of the enemy team and purposefully land the AoE splash onto the backline behind it. Na'Vi, though, with again that one-sided Mantis damage boost, means in the neutral they're always going to be able to find the eliminations first, something that Nevix finds out the hard way.
Just cyberbullied, there's no other way to put it. Call the bully hunters.
Rajaro's... He's already on point. This is the thing for Virtus Pro. Like, Vincie's on the EMEA to try and prevent rushdown on something like that Venom and also go head-to-head against the Magneto when it moves to the point control. However, they always get fully ran past with the backline taking so much pressure. Fatal Boatfords early came out from Saipe to make up for an absence of a Vanguard to be able to keep the point in play, and Na'Vi just coming through with a Galactic Legend yet again trying to zone Virtus Pro off of that point.
Naga down super low. You can see the augmented regeneration domains there. Gonna have Fate chased away. Sparker able to get that one at range. Still Virtus Pro unable to get the first cap, but finally we're gonna start accruing percentage for the first time.
This is big for Virtus Pro too, because Sparker cannot be dove. He has Rage of Ultron, however, Rajaro with that Meteor M now has a decision to make. Does he use that Mag Ultimate against the Ultron, or do Na'Vi try and simply disengage it and play around the terrain? Vincie's not going to give him the choice. Out comes the Sonic Seduction, forcing Fate to go for the copy onto the Mantis, and Na'Vi gets told out of the rotation.
Naga shut down in short order. Dredro so far away, but they're not going to be an option to try and burst on down. Saipe is going to be catching most of that. With Meteor M now gone, it's time for Sparker to try and reign over this one. Level 1 Crook and Fate are both down, so only Jerky's heal remains, but with the invisible boundary, it's as strong as it could ever be. Fi still finds completion over there, and that was not an insubstantial usage of ultimates from Na'Vi.
It's huge from Virtus Pro going first, not allowing Na'Vi to start to figure out and coordinate who they're going to hit, where they're going to hit, and when they're going to go. Big tempo change-up means that Na'Vi don't just get to leverage having the higher burst potential to find these eliminations before the fight properly starts. Fi's going to have the Galactic Legend, Jerky and Fate both without their ultimates. It forced a level 1 Crook for the Soul Resurgence to be enough to keep the team in play.
Nevic's cooking, looking towards the back line. Rajaro's going to be anyone grabbed here by the Cellular Corrosion. That's going to be a Soul Resurgence popped out here by the Mantis to try and keep the remainder of the team sustained. They bloody well need it when the Terror Cape gets 4 enemies purpled in towards the midst of all this. The healing's good. Coming through from a Fate of Both Worlds, Luna manages to rebuff the aggression of the Venom as well as the ultimate that was invested right there. Naga plays around the peripheries, knowing there's no point in it over-investing when you're looking into that Luna ultimate. Instead, it's going to wrap around the back and try to find a solo victim. Fate needs to do duplicitous movement away here, but the cooldown's not available for no doppelgangers to work with. Naga down to 22 HP, can get a momentary heal up coming through from Jerky and the Guardian Shield as well, but now Virtus Pro already at 96%. They all just move away. Rajaro can't even survive long enough to throw out the Meteor M. The Dark Depredations, they can't be eaten up by the Meteor itself, and Virtus Pro seem to have a brand new lease on life and a brand new understanding here on the Celestial Husk.
They worked out the draft. We said it. They worked out the draft, even though, yes, they went onto a line that could potentially have meant Human Torch was incredibly impactful. They didn't get baited into going Human Torch and went Star-Lord instead. Absolutely massive coming on for Fi going down a sum total of 4 times within 2 rounds as well, being able to put so much pressure. Dridor not getting picked too by the Meteor M's, having to force Rajaro into burning his in the fight before, trying to hold on to the point long enough for Na'Vi to try and find any regroup and keep that point contested. Now means that the Cloak and Dagger gets a free ultimate without having to worry about being taken down early. Virtus Pro can go as aggressive as they want with an Eternal Bond directly into Na'Vi's line, building into that Terror Cape.
Yeah, the Meteor M can struggle with mag survivability as well when you're going up against 2 Vanguards that don't have their projectiles eaten by the Meteor M, as well as the Ultron as well, all of whom can damage the Magneto while he's channeling.
Yeah, Virtus Pro just have ultimate advantage too. Vincie's going to be able to clear the space entirely off the point with the Sonic Seduction coming out. Nevic's on the high ground already scouting the rotation so he can hit the dive before it goes for his backline and forces an ultimate.
All right, we're laying them on the way. This is allowed for Virtus Pro to back off into the cave. The subterranean safety, potentially level 1 Crook already falling so low. And the self-healing options of the Mantis are not really that great. Just has to use those spores and then wait for healing over time. Fi looking towards the back line. Regeneration domain already used, but oh, trust me. Oh, wake up, honey. It's time to glaze. Trust me again. 2 strategists down off the back of a nice combo. Feast of the Abyss and Cellular Corrosion. Trust me, reigns supreme. Still an attempt to try and turn this one around. Vincere, even with only a singular strategist, is going to try and make something work. Both the Vanguards invest their ultimates here. I don't know if Virtus Pro really have the best read on that.
Oh, Jerky too with the invisible boundary for the slow onto Virtus Pro's back line. So the Vanguards either try and peel their players and give up point control entirely, or play point control and give up their backline entirely off of the damage boosted Feast of the Abyss coming on out. And that should be enough to secure Na'Vi. The first point cap, however, Virtus Pro are not giving this one up. Finzi onto the Doctor Strange, goes for the teleport. Saipe already had his ultimate available. Fate's gonna try and go for a copy onto the Resurgence, and Naga gets the setup with the Galactic Legend looking to target these players past the Doctor Strange. He goes into both of the strategist backlines, and finally that's been enough to force Virtus Pro off of the point.
Yeah, that forces for disengage, so the point gets captured in favor of Na'Vi, and now Virtus Pro know there's no point in fighting out until they have themselves an opportunity.
Yeah, Rajaro is going to be able to close that opportunity as well, potentially into this next fight. If I burns Galactic Legend or Sparker with Rage of Ultron to open up this next fight, immediately they go into the Meteor M with that Magneto.
All right, level 1 Crook in major danger. Peeling comes through from the Meteor M. It's well charged up. Doesn't make big impact, though. And Nevix isn't quite as worried. So level 1 Crook has fallen on down, but that's a lot of alternate damage that's come on through already. Trust me, scares away Fi for a moment. And here's a 1v1 coming through from Naga. Quick jump up and the Guardian Shield as well. Deep penetration here of the Eternal Bond. And that invisible boundary from Jerky doesn't have too much place on the edge of the car. Forces out the Eye of Agamotto. Jerky and Trust Me both grabbed on through and attempt to try and shut down the healing AoEs given over by the Mantis, but it can't be done. Rajara is going to return in their own right here, noting that Virtus Pro almost have a full flip of the point. They're going to cut off the strategist as well. A one-sided portal, an attempt to try and isolate Sparker and block out the damage. Naga around the outside catches Fi and catches even more so than this. Na'Vi holding strong. Here comes the healing. It's given over by Saipe. The Fate of both worlds is good, but Fate's got one of their own with a Soul Resurgence being dragged on up. Terror Cape is good. The follow-up, though, is not there, and Virtus Pro are forced once again to scurry back with their tails between their legs.
Oh no, sunk cost fallacy strikes again. Virtus Pro didn't find the flip the entire time. Na'Vi are just going to push this aggressively. Virtus Pro don't have teleport. There's 10% left. Na'Vi are just going to be able to hold off every single angle that Virtus Pro can potentially contest.
Trust me, sniffs out a scout around the outside. It has to be a mad dash here from Nevix. Don't know if he even actually got the touch right there. Should be able to move on in already. He's got so much of the overall CC burden applied to him. The frenzied arrival won't get too much, but someone needs to come in and touch now from the side of Virtus Pro. Fincy's up on the docket, but doesn't have a diamond form for damage reduction. No one needs to come around the outside because Fi's still playing it round the back. Has a Blaster Barrage to work with, yes, but has to wait for the remainder of the team to come on in. Saipe is down, Soul Resurgence still good to go. Sparker on the Winter Soldier of all things has now arrived. A quick one and done onto Naga. Maybe there's a little bit of magic to be held soon. Overtime's going to start ticking on down. Someone needs to take it down to the ground floor. But Virtus Pro are nowhere near. The descent is too slow, but the descent to 0 to 1 is complete. Na'Vi win out on domination.
It's kind of ironic given the late minute swap, but the fact that there was no reset of any of those fights coming on through from Virtus Pro where they identified, okay, we're not winning this, let's just full regroup and try again, really was the bane of point percentage control, because Na'Vi just kept being able to bounce it off of their players. Rujaro too, when we got to see Virtus Pro try and play for that last fight with Finzi on the Emma, perfectly Doctor Strange shielding off all heal LOS for both the Luna and the Cloak and Dagger, who would not have been able to get the auto-lock target onto their Vanguard because there was no position to bounce the light daggers off of the back from.
The Mantis once again delivering in droves for these as well. Regeneration domain super valuable, but also just being able to damage boost Naga and have these unfair fights, as well as make sure that even without a combination ultimate, Trust Me could still be a real menace with the Feast of the Abyss.
Not just that, but also being able to secure Magneto, so that you didn't have to burn a strategist ultimate against things like that Galactic Legend, though we saw Na'Vi being more than okay with it. In fact, really taking quite a lot of advantage of both having the Loki and the Mantis and being able to use just the base out healing of Soul Resurgence to live Galactic Legend while also gaining a higher damage boost window, because suddenly you have two people who can damage boost rather than this Soul 1. Virtus Pro definitely looked a lot closer when we went to that second round. I think like being able to have the Star-Lord really did help them. It meant that they didn't have a composition which literally was either the Torch wins it for you or loses it for you. There was flexibility to the point that we even saw on the third submap when Galactic Legend opened up the space with fire coming on through and forced that Meteor M. They actually took advantage of the Magneto being stuck in the ultimate animation long enough for Nevix on the Venom to dive the backline and find a hit, which I think was really, really smart from them. Unfortunately, like I said, there was no full resets, so the longer the fight went, the more point percentage in ultimates Virtus Pro lost and felt like they had to overcommit just to be able to finally win the fight and get the flip.
Yeah, they kept finding things where they thought they could take advantage of maybe a slight overextension, maybe a small amount of an edge, but in the end, it's just so hard to flip that point with that central pillar of cover that you often, as you said, solve the sunk cost fallacy. However, things that could be taken advantage of, maybe a console underneath your TV. If you happen to have the old PS4 lying around, you can now play Marvel Rivals on it, up on the big screen in all of its 4K glory. Marvel Rivals is good to go for the PlayStation 4.
Yeah, big players. I mean, already we're getting to see players on controllers on the Ignite competitive stage, and not just the EMEA stage, also the mid-season LAN stage as well. So those controller players really can hold the fort down when they go up against the PC. Though I'm sure controller probably has its own entirely different meta in comparison to PC. I feel like Scarlet Witch might be a bit of a scourge for the controller players to have to deal with.
We'll see. They do have their own MRC region to try and work with. However, now for Virtus Pro, they get to choose where we go, and they can once again set the pace for this matchup. We'll see what they decide after this break. At Blaney, I've gathered the think tank of chat coaches for Virtus Pro here, and our feedback is just win, lol. So if you could confer that to the players, that would be muchly appreciated. 1-0 right now to Na'Vi, Mox, as we head into Virtus Pro's map pick.
Yeah, and what is that map going to be? As we've talked about, Virtus Pro's comfort map has long been Araco, but I don't know whether or not that mindset has been eroded, given the fact that they got full held against FaZe yesterday and lost to Na'Vi on Araco, granted in a much closer map in comparison to the domination when they first met.
Oh yeah, it was incredibly close. Weirdly, we started to see the NA brain rot start to seep in. The Magic made an appearance. And you know what? Jerky got some real value out of that Magic. It is going to be Midtown this time around, so no Araco.
Yeah, still gonna be a decent map for flyers though, but you do have to worry about momentum. If the attacker side gets stalled out of second at any point, then it is going to be a little bit of a pain. Na'Vi going to be banning out that EMEA, so going to be looking for a much longer stall bounce relay between that Vanguards. Virtus Pro though not going for the save onto the Mantis that they could have had, instead making a play to save the Invisible Woman, as we have seen that Jerky has played the Angela before, and it's going to be a mag ban coming on through from Virtus Pro, which means that that Starlord, if it does creep through, is going to be getting even stronger.
Okay, Na'Vi are pulling out a couple of their trump cards here. Fate's access to the Jeff. Admittedly, there aren't a huge amount of environmental hazards on Midtown, but I feel like the Jeff meta has evolved beyond like environmental hazard frags, you know, for Jeff. Sometimes it's about the isolation or the healing pool.
I wonder if we actually see Naga go over to the Storm for the Jeff NATO against the Invis boundary, the way we saw it on Series 1, because back when he used to play for PEPS, he was predominantly a Storm player all the way back in, goodness, that would have been, what, the Invitational? March, February?
That was a while. Like, Invitational was March. That was all about the Winter Soldier, and Sparker was a bloody good Winter Soldier. Was mostly contested, I believe, by Etsu, who was playing for OG at the time. He's now over in North America, I think, with mixed success.
Well, the Doctor Strange is not going to be finding any success for Virtus Pro because it has been banned, as Na'Vi will be able to confirm that they get Ultron as well to be able to pocket any off-angle components and also any flyer components. Triple strategist line for Na'Vi looking incredibly strong. Oh, and hear me out on this. They could just do the rushdown dive, full dive composition. No mag, no Emma, no Vanguards to hold the line.
Just do a full rushdown. I mean, hear me out. The deja vu senses are tingling. The first time we saw Virtus Pro lose an official series was to the team that would become Na'Vi in Rad.
Yes.
And that was when they just ran down 100% bans on strategists. Maybe
yes.
Na'Vi are doing the 100% bans on Vanguard strat.
Root save coming on through for Virtus Pro. So they've seen that things like the Groot wall being able to block LLS of something like an Atom is going to be incredibly strong. And I like as well the fact that Na'Vi instantly ban out the Human Torch, because Triangling Prism plus Human Torch, all of those fire tornadoes, they do separate stacks of damage, which means that they have enough hit potential to punch through any strategist ultimate in the game. It does mean though that Virtus Pro can still combine it with something like a Moon Knight or a Bucky if Na'Vi do decide to go for dive and Winter Soldier gets brought into the mix to try and prevent it from coming through.
Many options to play. Hello.
They're on attack.
Yeah, they're on attack. They've played the Thor before. I'm not coping.
Oh, it was the Thor? I thought you were happy about the magic.
No, I'm much happier about the Thor. The
Actually, I know you. I should have known that.
I see the match and I'm like, cool, NA brain rot lol, but the Thor, now we're talking.
They did that actually against FaZe yesterday, where the entire idea, but remember they got banned out of the Emma and the Magneto, so the Emma tends to be the main displacement of Vanguards when it becomes the 1 versus 1 to vie for control of the actual convoy itself, but Thor being able to displace as well with the shift could be massive for Virtus Pro, especially if they can land them and then Nevix walls up to isolate even further. But look at Na'Vi's composition. What are you going to be walling? Every single one of these players are on heroes that have so much mobility, and some of them can fly.
Yeah, the Flyers, though, are going to have a little bit of trouble with the Invisible Woman. Sonic Vortex will ground them real quickly, and also the Lightning Realm of Thor also has a grounding effect.
The force stocks just keep on rising as the dive keeps on diving in and out. However, the force physics comes on through, and that means that Trust Me is indeed welcomed back when he really didn't want to. Jerky takes so much attention, though, with that Angela, that the Venom gets out entirely unimpeded.
It also means that brawling on the cart can be a little bit more dangerous when the Thor is throwing out those Awakening Rune lightnings. Oh my goodness, Rajaro on the chase. A momentary peel coming through from 5. Leave him alone. He's just a little guy with a gun. Moving in towards the back. Trust Me, doing some damage. Look at all the Vanguards moving in together. A triple stab for Jerky. He's turned him into Jerky back here. Holds up the shield as best they can. Might be able to actually flee away. The instant dash that's available to the Angela is just so strong.
Yeah, Virtus Pro are going to try and fortify their position inside this room so that Na'Vi don't have that supreme ability to disengage, but that just means that they get boxed into a coffin against the Rage of Ultron. There's the Winter Soldier. The Earthbind is applied to Jerky, but he's still got the shield uptime and uses the Assassin's Lunge, actually, to fully disengage after that Force Physics attempts to pull him back on through.
All right, going to the inside now, trying to make it a little bit more perilous for the Flyers to try and make a moment happen. Fate just going to back off here. Gets their own Angela, and so we'll be able to momentarily back away. Here comes the counter coming through from Dredra, of course, against many flying enemies, and that can't always be quite as effective. Just the bullying of Nevix going to be everywhere. Hell's ready to descend, but a moment. Here comes the Phoenix right down on top of Trust Me. Heaven's Descent. Not quite going to be invested here. I don't think we're going to leap after it, given that it's inside of the invisible boundary, but that's a fair trade here as far as Jerky's concerned.
Yeah, it means that Na'Vi get to just disengage because everyone from Virtus Pro is stuck inside the invisible boundary and can't chase onto them, and now they get to position in anticipation of Strangling Prison plus Kraken Impact, which is not going to be enough healing to sustain through with Rage of Ultron and Cosmic Ion Amplifier.
A couple of shields to try and get in the way, though. Fate just playing from afar, looking to try and keep everyone sped on it. That is a huge isolation onto Nevix. And I'm not sure if any healing's going to be there in time. Indeed, Fate's there to try and make even more mess. And Na'Vi, they effectively rebuff this off a single isolation.
Yeah, Virtus Pro can't make a move right now. They need the Groot to set up for the Winter Soldier, but by creating more distance, they've allowed Na'Vi the opportunity to start this fight aggressively yet again with a dive. Good Earthbind again applying onto Jerky, but he's got so much mobility that he's still able to get out almost entirely unpunished. Freedom Charge from Rajaro just to run at the back line, forcing the Winter Soldier to have to turn his attention to the Captain America, which again means that there's no follow-up Kraken Impact from the Strangling Prison.
Strangling Prison use. All of you are going to feel real silly when this lightning god pops off. Never mind, Fate just gets decimated for a second when anyone hits the ground. Jerky doing their best to disengage. There's still a little bit of pressure on the cart here to stop it from moving forward, but Rajaro is forced to flee away and avoid the bionic hook.
Virtus Pro are just stacking Earthbounds at the moment. Nevix is coming back on the thing to use the Yancy Street charge and apply it at least onto the objective itself so that Na'Vi can't just keep the objective in contest. Sparker gets a huge pick onto Jerky as well, which means another reset comes on through for the Winter Soldier. Dredder with the itch. Jeff manages to carry as well, trust me. And we've still got Kraken Impact sounding on off.
Sends Trust Me to the spawn dimension for a little bit. Rajaro taken on down and grounding again and again. The stone haymakers begin to connect. Rajaro just plays around the outside, just being professionally annoying. I know I do it as well. In comes the Feast of the Abyss. Jerky take him to the ground, but Fate's just healing for free from the other side. The cleave is crazy, and the invisible boundary is going to complicate matters a little bit, but that's okay. When you've got a stream as large as Jeff's, all we need to do is aim in the vague direction. The cart's rolled on through, as it seems to have been a little bit of a gap in the tag around here of Na'Vi, and we move over to second.
Yeah, Na'Vi losing their players now, also going to be losing the opportunity of setting up an aggressive dive on second, and it looks like we're just going to be losing the dive comp too. Trust Me is moving over to the Groot, Jerky onto the Phoenix. Ooh, and Rajaro got the mag, which means Ensong Inferno plus Meteor M for Virtus Pro to have to worry about.
Yeah, that's a big combo that's really going to be potentially deadly for someone like Saipe. But given that the overall shielding available with the invisible boundary is not much, maybe you can split them up and don't have to use them together. Just allocate one to the It's Jeff, allocate one to the invisible boundary.
Nevix has clobbering time to open things up. That's going to be able to stun out everyone on the side of Na'Vi, given the fact that it goes for shield. So Fate's going to be opening up aggressively with an It's Jeff, and Virtus Pro have to position around it. Out comes the Ensong Inferno and the Kraken Impact, both of which which are going to be able to mean that the Phoenix gets a health reset and Sparker gets an actual reset. He's looking for an opportunity. Saw Naga on the start, looked to apply it, wasn't able to, but that's still enough to force out the invisible boundary coming through from Crook, which the second that it drops, Virtus.pro get to move on forward with clobbering time, and Na'Vi have no way of dodging it outside of Fate with a good eye frame.
Message received by Fate going over instead. Double Vanguards grabbed on up Rajaro, and trust me, all they can do is watch as they approach Oblivion. Dredro takes them on down, saying, Saipe, you can take it from here. And the remainder of Virtus.pro is still rolling on forward. There's going to be a last-second contest, yes, as Naga takes to the skies to avoid the incoming Rotterdam shots, but they can't get away from what the Phoenix was bringing to the table. And that's going to be a second point grabbed by VP.
Yeah, Na'Vi determining that it's not worth it. Just going to be setting up for a better hold on for it. They've got the Wombo combo. They just need one fight win to take away the momentum from Virtus.pro, and then they get so much poke damage. The Thing and the Winter Soldier and the Thor do so little pressure from afar unless the Bucky can find those hook angles, and both the Grid and the Magneto are going to be making it incredibly hard for Sparker to find that value, as we can see with now the distance. Na'Vi are in the driver's seat with the amount of damage.
Oh, all of you Thor doubters are going to start feeling real silly when you watch what Defense is going to get done here. In comes the Ensong Inferno. Doesn't really connect on too much. Joker was turned it around right there inside of the invisible boundary. Seems to be going well. Up comes the Eternal Bond. It's very aggressive coming through from Na'Vi. They're just claiming all of this space, knowing that they want to have this corridor to shoot down when they're going up against a Thing and a Thor who have really bad poke management.
Rajaro held on as well to the Meteor M, didn't combine it with Jerky, so now they actually have takedown potential onto Sparker before the Kraken Impacts can start winning Virtus.pro this fight.
All right, here comes the invisible boundary. Straight away from level 1, Crook doesn't let them see where the Meteor M's coming from. An attempt to connect, and yes, it does hit the ground, but it seems like the God of Thunder might be all that's needed. No, instead the Metallic Curtain, no sells the entire thing, no stuns given over. Trust me, offered the Metallic Bulwark towards the back. It's Naga rolling on forward. Everyone's so far away from the puddle that was left on the floor by Dredro. The healing's just not going to be there. Even more, the Guardian Shield. Stop, they're already gone. They've been casualtized. And now,
trades, though.
Yeah, there are some trades. Nevix has their C to try and keep himself sustained as well. Inside this forest, though, it's not the ideal matchup. Trust me, I guess the Thor, I guess? No, I guess the Thing.
Naga's coming. Naga's coming back in on that Punisher so he can start just melting through the Thing and the Captain America that Virtus.pro have now swapped onto. Finzi going to be trying to keep up the pressure onto the back line to weaken the front line presence. Big force physics from Saipe. Grabs two, deposits them right into Virtus.pro's entire team and catches them with the slow up of the invisible boundary. And Virtus.pro will be able to win the fight off of the back of huge plays from Saipe.
Number 1 Croak taken down through the invisible bond. However, that's going to be Jerky not able to connect. Super low is Naga. Healing's going to be there. Jerky just absolutely held hostage in the theater at the moment. Needs to be kept in tab on right now, and that's going to be Sparker's job as they make him play around the outside. Fate taken down. Nevix fell through the cracks, though. Well, there were maneuvers on to Fate. It's going to be a quick grab here on to Trust Me. Getting rid of the leader, trying to isolate him, and oh, there's a fiery pit awaiting that Groot. Dredro waits as long as possible to make sure the leader can't weigh in. Actually decides to take himself out as well, which seems a little bit weird. Maybe they were pushed off by level 1 Crook when they made that attempt. In comes the Trooper's Fist, surely to reposition Rosaro. Maybe it was off cooldown. Maybe it's everything you need for the Assemble. Barely rings out. He might be native to New York, but this ain't Brooklyn. We're in Manhattan, brother. And Saipe can't even step up to the plate. Virtus.pro are held on third.
Yeah, it's over the second that they managed to line up Final Judgment with Invis Boundary. Na'Vi even actually hold Invis Boundary so that Naga can build up the Final Judgment and have it fully pocketed on the objective in overtime. You have to go head-to-head with the damage the Punisher can output into the slow that the invisible boundary is going to be generating. Plus, you have, if you're Virtus.pro, no idea where your teammates are going to be playing inside said invisible boundary if you're outside of it. So they get no idea where to be able to direct those heals. Big brain plays coming on through from Na'Vi with those late game swaps. But Virtus.pro managed to push that convoy incredibly far in comparison to what we traditionally see when you get spawn held. It wasn't a second point finish, it was almost a third, which means that Na'Vi have a fair amount of distance to make up for.
Yeah, this is by no means cooked for VP. They've got a respectable distance, and they've got all of the geography they need to try and hold Na'Vi even closer. Nevix really is a bit of a thing merchant. One of the few players we see often bring out the thing, was one of the first to really bring it to the forefront of competitive play as well. Maybe preempting that there could be a flyer coming out who you can try and ground with that stone haymaker.
Yeah, but he's going to have a rough time trying to navigate these woods because there's two Groots, which means double the LOS interruption to see who exactly you're trying to jump towards. Na'Vi, the only flying component that really playing is Jerky, but he can play between the two, which means that Nevix doesn't really get that knockback opportunity he was looking for. And off of the back of that, yeah, Virtus Pro know that they're not in a good position to take this fight. Nevix just having to abandon that post immediately and tag on for Finzi to be able to keep the objective in control.
Honestly, 2 Groots and Mega Poke from both a Punisher and a Phoenix is not the ideal for the thing, but still Nevix is going to get audacious off the back of it and continually tries to slow down these players using the Yancy charge to disable those movement abilities. Nevix taking so much damage here, needs to be healed up, but there are 3 strategists behind him to try and make it work, and of course, is also immune to those force physics as he is an immovable object.
Sparker and Dritter and Saipe, like you said, just getting so much healing off of the back of Nevix taking all of this damage. Jerky now onto the Storm for the damage boost to finally break through this thing's health bar. It's Jeff comes on through from Fade early on. Invis Boundary from Saipe at the same time. However, Naga manages to dodge with the CC Medium Final Judgment, but level 1 Crook didn't have his own Invis Boundary, and the Punisher falls immediately.
Yeah, it's all well and good to try and dodge the incoming damage, but when the rest of your team is gone and there's no one to peel for you when you're playing in that final judgment, things get real complicated real quick. 5 with a quick do-si-do to take down Trust Me, and 1 minute and 20 seconds have already passed.
Strangling Prison could be a big play coming on first from Na'Vi. They've got a much better follow-up off of the back of it with Jerky's ultimate in comparison to Virtus Pro, though they are going to have that damage boost. Hurricane comes through first. Do Virtus Pro try and respond with anything? Yes, comes the Cosmic Kion Amplify, but it's not in time to save Nevix.
Jerky takes 2 for Sky and burns through the Cosmic Yarn Amplifier. Nevix resurrected here by the BRB, but I mean, Saipe cannot be the prime recipient of it. The remainder of Virtus Pro are going to throw themselves onto the car for a little bit of additional stall, and we're likely going to see another stall come up soon.
Oh, but that additional stall, because it's 3 Vanguard bodies, has allowed Final Judgment to come up again in record timing. Level 1 Crook this time around is going to have that invisible boundary as well to pocket the Punisher. So even if Fi is able to find the Strangling Prison onto the rest of the team, Na'Vi have CC immunity, and the Punisher can dodge it and make sure that VP don't get to capitalize.
All right, early usage of the... Oh, nice wall peel coming through from the Ironwood. Great play coming through from Fi, grabbing in multiple players. Are they going to be eaten up is the question. Drudro hovers above it all. Both the Invis and the group of Eronius momentarily rescued as Fate from downtown with the Aqua Burst is able to deliver divine oceanic retribution onto their counterparts. And Nevix has to use a symbolic resilience. Look at how clean the tracking is from Jerky on the Storm. Bro's an absolute menace when it comes to any kind of mechanics. Saipe raises up the invisible boundary. They're so far away that they aren't benefiting from the healing. They just get assassinated in the back by the Jeff. We said that Fate was the premier Jeff for a reason. Bro is the Shark incarnate. And Finz is not quite so lucky. A full take on first with a minute to spare.
Oh, the flank Jeff shenanigans to just split Virtus Pro's attention because Naga actually got kicked. He tried to go for the final judgment as he got hit by the Strangling Prison, but actually goes down before level 1 Crook's invisible boundary comes on through and loses all of the ultimate off the back of it. Now Spark is going to be swapping on over to the Winter Soldier Dritter on that Mantis as well to try and find those damage boost potential dives for the Feast of the Abyss coming in through from Nevix in the next fight when Na'Vi don't have anything to heal through it.
Jerky looking from afar, a Mega Hurricane, good to go. The remainder of the team may well be taken down in advance by Nevix. And Dredro is just for designated sacrifice, unfortunately. Wait, the healing is crazy. The healing is crazy. Jerky can't quite believe their eyes as Saipe takes them down from afar. Nevix is just dancing for their life here, receiving the healing Virtus Pro. They wither the storm.
Sparker as well has Kraken Impact to be able to stylishly dodge over the Strangling Prison or the Eye of Agamotto. He's done it multiple times in the past with the CC immunity afforded to Kraken Impact, and that's going to slow so much momentum down from Na'Vi. If they try and use the It's Jeff as follow-up from either CC, Fate's getting put in the blender.
Well, Trust Me might be in the blender to begin with here. Sparker opening up. Seems like no reset means no CC immunity. Good push coming through. Saipe massive on the peels. And Fate is still waiting up above. 2 players grabbed on up. No environmental hazards, but the damage could already be done. The isolation of being down 2 members could already be everything that you asked for, and a touch more to open it up for Na'Vi. A quick symbiotic shenanigan. An attempted turnaround here. Naga looking to try and cull. The aura's been applied onto multiple players, but I think they've survived long enough. Everyone Crook's been isolated by Vincere. And there's a momentary healing puddle laying down on the floor for the members of Virtus Pro to shelter themselves within, as Rojaro's just shy of being taken down by that Jeff. Can't convert on the Dark Maelstrom, and Virtus Pro, they are looking hot to trot here in the central station.
Nevix is going to have another damage boosted Feast of the Abyss, and Na'Vi have no idea when it's going to be coming on for Rojaro. Now swaps over to that Magneto. Will be able to bubble as well, potentially, when that Venom ultimate hits, as well as lining up his ultimate with Jerkies, and I know you're happy to see this.
Yes.
Trust me's on the 4. Fade the cloak and dagger for the blind vulnerability onto the dive.
Okay. This way's my go. Nevix towards the back. Converts onto level 1 Crook. Not even Thor could deal with that one. And Rotterdam tears through Asgardian flesh. Virtus Pro get that one done quick-like.
Sparker too doesn't even need to commit the Kraken Impact. He'll have it up and available for this next fight. And Fate actually off of the jab onto the Cloak and Dagger becomes even more vulnerable to the Winter Soldier now, because if he's grabbed out of his ultimate into that Trooper's Fist, he can't even use the Dark Teleportation to iframe the subsequent damage that will come his way.
Things get real complicated real fast when you're looking at those immobilizing abilities. Trust me, gonna make a play to try and get rid of any incoming assailants from the high ground. Vincere just takes Jerky's attention, and it's time to start farming up some of that ult charge. The Ensong Inferno ready to go. Jerky already low in their own right. Sparker playing around the outside, waiting for everything to be done before they can come in with the final note of a song in the form of the Kraken Impact. Walking away, gets given the culling aura, but just drops them down as best they can. I believe a quick sleep came out. Here comes the God of Thunder, but Saipe can survive through all of it. Dredro's taken down, descending up on top of Jerky, but the iframes are good. The culling aura's not given over, and that means no resets available. Saipe just gets ran down by the Phoenix, and in overtime, these respawns are going to take so long.
Yeah, Na'Vi's pushing up even further too. They know that they haven't cleared all of the members of Virtus Pro, and if Vincere on the Captain America gets to stall the objective, VP will be able to come back in with better ultimate cycles, so you can see all of the scout checking currently being done. There goes the Freedom Charge into the It's Jeff for the heal puddle, onto the point and potentially to grab some of Na'Vi's players. They go for the backline, but the Dark Teleportation coming on through from Fate dodges it.
Dark Teleportation is sick. Rajaro even better. Dredro taken down, and only Saipe now remains blocked off by the metallic curtain. Sparker goes wide with a Bionic Hook, can't connect onto any player, and now Jerky's just in an all-expenses-paid luxury trip to Damage Town. Sparks are accrued, and sparks will fly, as Virtus Pro are going to have to defend on last.
Na'Vi have momentum, but they've only got a minute and a half to be able to get almost all the way to the end of third. Now, do we see any swaps coming on for Vincere? Still going to be on that Captain America, rolling out ahead of his team, looking to play nuisance either onto the objective or onto the backline. Anything to try and occupy those Winter Soldiers' attention to clear the way for Nevix on the Venom.
Well, the Venom opens up real strong here, but is already rebuffed with a lot of damage, forcing out that symbiotic resilience. Na'Vi know they have to give up a little bit of space here as Virtus Pro walk on forward. They want to get at least 2 fights out of the defense here on third, but Rajaro is going to start taxing the health bars of the back line. Guardian Shield in the way, the Eternal Bomb moves forward, and you know that it's going to be incredibly difficult to try and take out anyone in the midst of all of this healing. Vincire's already away. Fate's been taken down. Like you said, the Trooper's Fist stops with Dark Teleportation, so now all that healing that Na'Vi were counting on is missing, but Virtus Pro are still down on Vincere.
Yeah, Virtus Pro are still falling back as well. There's currently no Vanguard presence on the objective itself. Something that Nevix tries to make up for now, throwing himself onto that point. Na'Vi with the better ultimate advantage coming into this. They've got the invisible boundary. Virtus Pro trying to stack the cards with the Soul Resurgence, the Invis boundary into the slow, into the Force God of Thunder. Doesn't find the pick. The Kraken Impact might well though.
The patience is strong. Saipe needs to survive through this towards the back. Sparker's already got 2. Nevix combines into it. There's 2 seconds remaining, and Na'Vi don't have the players. They don't have the sustainability, and they do not have the hope. Fate's coming out in a a desperate attempt to try and portal through this one, but it might well be shut down before it can begin by Nevix. And Virtus Pro even up the series 1-1 on Midtown.
Virtus Pro proving why this is a team that we talk about having that pedigree factor. The Winter Soldier yet again coming on through from Sparker. No matter the stage, no matter the time of year, he's always going to be semi-viable with the sheer amount that this hero is able to do, especially into Jeff, where he gets to come on through with the Kraken impact, dodge the CC, and be able to put the pressure onto the Shark. The fact that we saw Na'Vi, despite saving the Jeff, have to swap off of it shows that Virtus Pro pushed them over the edge of that comp.
You know what? Thigh making a rotation onto the Jeff as well, putting up a good performance in his own right. Now, it was looking a little bit cooked early on. I'm not going to lie. The first point, bit of a struggle. However, Drive really being able to get some value on the Jeff. And you know what? Having multiple players on Virtus Pro who can get value out of that Jeff really is a big asset to them. Because we're wondering, like, oh, like, is Fi always going to be the solo DPS here, given that it often seems to be Sparker who's pivoting over to things like the Adam, like the Ultron, when Sparker is your better Winter Soldier player? Seems like that was identified by VP. They're like, okay, well, Winter Soldier's great at the moment. We need that.
I mean, it was the Mantis as well, getting that damage boost when we went into second for the Feast of the Abyss. The surprise swap too. Virtus Pro went off of the composition over onto the Mantis to have the damage boost for the Feast of the Abyss and slow Na'Vi's momentum down, stalling them out, allowing Virtus Pro to establish positions and angles for the Winter Soldier to be able to scout the rotations of the attacking side and then tax them on the approach. So it wasn't a case of Na'Vi get free trespass onto the objective itself and then get to increase that distance, or lessen the distance rather, between themselves and the back line, which for Virtus Pro, you're always left with a 50-50 choice. You either fight on the point and abandon your back line and lose the long term, or you abandon the point, protect your back line, and lose off of distance alone.
Well, there are so many ways to lose, but you've got many ways to win right now by playing Marvel Rivals, because the slumbering Show Lao is ready to shower you in gifts and generosity. There are units up for grabs, as well as unstable isotopes and the rare costume coin to claim a costume from our exchange, including 4 limited time costumes for the members of the Fantastic Four.
I mean, the Thing trench coat is just a classic, isn't it? I'm so happy that one of the first skins that he was able to receive was such an iconic looking, as we got to see from Virtus Pro. He's still got to play some viability too. They identified that Na'Vi was going to run that incredibly aggressive full dive composition, and they just stacked the Earthbound debuffs. And the thing for Na'Vi is that those aren't things that are full meta. You can't burn bans on removing Thing and Winter Soldier because something else is just going to be able to take their place.
Yep, something else is going to be able to take their place. A new map potentially picked by Na'Vi right after this break. As far as I'm concerned, if both teams played Thor, they both won. So here we are, 2-1. No, 1-1 here between Na'Vi and VP. And Convergence is the must-play map now, Mox, but Na'Vi get to choose which one we're going to.
Yes, I feel like it might be Central Park that we start to head into, just because it's going to put a lot of pressure to instant ban out that Jeff, considering you have environmental points on first, second, and third of this map. Wait, that's not Central Park music, that's Hall of Jalia.
Okay. Well, Hall of Jalia does still have some environmental hazards to deal with.
It's also a very strong dive map, too. So
this is also where Na'Vi handed Virtus Pro their first series loss ever.
Yes.
They're trying to awake a trauma response, perhaps?
Well,
flashbacks?
They did enough. The threat and paranoia of Fade's Jeff potential has been enough to guarantee that Virtus Pro instant ban out that Jeff, which frees up the Manta save from Na'Vi as they went for the choice of attacker side, which means that they get first save before Virtus Pro get the opportunity to get a double ban. However, Virtus Pro are going to be able to save themselves the Jeff after banning Na'Vi out of it.
Okay, this might force out something like a Venom ban from Na'Vi. Now we'll have to see where Na'Vi pivot. After this, it's going to be simultaneous bans. Remember, these are non-mirrored bans, so they are only for the other team, and you can try and craft a composition that can defeat the enemy as the Ultron is taken away from both teams.
Yeah, so now it's going to really weaken flyer compositions. Invis Women has still been able to make play, and as I say that, Invis Women is indeed going to be taken away. So things like Phoenix, Namor, Human Torch, all of them going to suffer on the side of Virtus Pro. If you're going for a triple strategist line, you obviously want to have one major carry duelist, so you want to have a lot of off strategists to be able to support them with utility rather than heal pressure, as Na'Vi will be removing the Adam Warlock, so neither team is going to be able to have access to Born Again in those long-term fights.
Yep, last time Na'Vi, they were very much running the Ban Vanguard train. Now they are very much back to just removing options for strategists, but Virtus Pro are probably going to be pretty comfortable with a trio that includes both Jeff and Luna. We have seen a rising resurgence of Rocket Raccoon in a bunch of these matchups as well. Don't know if it's going to be quite as popular here on Hall of Jalia. However, taking away the Loki, making sure that they don't have that vibrant team up from Mantis.
Yeah, damage boost, especially like if you're attacking and you have damage boost for your Star-Lord, or if you're defending and you have damage boost with Namor. When you're in control of Hall of Jalia and you can start off the fight on the high window ledge without having to sacrifice the cooldown of Blessing of the Deep, you should always be able to win your opening 1v1s and clear out Sparker if he decides to go for the Star-Lord.
All right, Star-Lord once again going to be reigning over it, however. Many options here for Virtus Pro. Na'Vi are going to be very confident here on Hall of Jalia, given they have shown off some very interesting looks on this map before. They brought out something that they said they wanted to just try out in officials. They were never confident enough about it. I believe that was the Ultron Jeff, but they played against one of our teams that got eliminated. But given that Mantis is open at the moment, I imagine we are going to see a pivot towards a Mantis composition where you can really take advantage of that damage boost.
Yeah, that was a lot of just front-loaded dive coming through from Na'Vi when they went head-to-head with NJC. And it was just aggression, aggression, aggression without pause, not allowing the other team to start to settle in and clear their comms to be able to ult-track or scout out where those players would be coming from, as Na'Vi are going to be starting, as we said, on the attack so that they would be able to guarantee that they got that one-sided Mantis, and Rajara already going to be back onto that Magneto to give all of the resources to Naga on the Star-Lord.
Vincere just stand in main on business and get that long-range cleave, heal, and damage from Phi. Of course, the MVP status of Naga is going to be coming on through. Oh, Saipe's already down. What a combination of damage. Holy, where do they go?
Before the symbiotic shenanigans could even come through too, Phi tried, but Saipe was already long gone. Driver looking to disengage the team off the back of that dark teleportation as they have to stabilize their forces, give up 2 ticks, and then come on through and contest the third.
Yeah, Sub is going to be able to roll on back. 100 charge here for Fincy to try and play with, but 1 HP down to 0. Level 1 Crook finds the finish. Nevix next up on the dock. It can't really stick around for long, but has to, because already 2 ticks have been given away. Phi going to try and turn this one around, so return to the healing pool here for the side of Nevix. Phi taken down after grabbing 2 strategists in their jaws, but there's enough players there thereafter to try and make it work. Eternal Bond has arrived, but Virtus Pro, they're too thin on the ground to really take advantage of this one. There's going to be a momentary return of the back of the portal. Saipe just fragged the moment they step out. Saipe is having an absolute terrible game so far. Just fully bullied by Na'Vi every time they appear. Even with the damage boost, it seems like Nevix can't really break through all of this sustainability. Going up against the world, the point will eventually fall.
Oh, Na'Vi just have so much damage potential, being able to find that crucial pick onto Saipe at the beginning, force Virtus Pro into backing off and giving 2 ticks for free, and then it's just a matter of taking out all of the regroup portal contest once the Eternal Bond has ended. Rajaro too now gets to utilize Meteor M against Sparker's ultimate, while also putting pressure onto Saipe to not burn Fate of both worlds, because if he goes first and uses it, Sparker's ultimate can charge enough of that Meteor M to have the lethality to take the Luna down.
Damage was conferred onto Trust Me, I believe, so that backline is going to be in heavy danger. Up comes the invisible boundary. Sparker has to dodge away. Even with the Terror Cape afflicting multiple players, there's still more than enough healing inside of that boundary to try and sustain it. Fate and Jerky, though, fall on down. Rajaro tries to dunk down on top of Saipe, who this time says, absolutely not. You've got me down for the last time, father. And now it's going to be quick eat coming through from the side of Fire. Not sure if he's grabbed too much here, but there's too much zoning coming through from the side of the EMEA. Fi sends level 1 Crook to the ranch dimension. And yeah, that's back to the drawing board.
Yeah, that's actually a great reaction to Soul Resurgence, because the Mantis doesn't get CC immunity in her ultimate like the Luna, so you can actually move the AoE so that no one gets the speed boost. Finzi as well, utilizing the Sonic Seduction so that Na'Vi don't get to hold that position and take the Jeff out prematurely, and completes the full ultimate. Nostrador now has got that Eternal Bond, also doesn't have to worry about Rajaro's ultimate because it was used previously against Saipe.
Trust me, towards the back. Feast of the Abyss, ready to go. Damage boost hasn't been delivered. Instead, they're looking backwards here to try and deal with what Nevix was bringing to the table. Level 1 Crook's already down. The Eternal Bond still has to be invested because Finzi was so low. Naga take him down, and Fate surely not going to be long for this world either. Jerky over on the Luna. It's a new addition to the hero pool, at least for, as far as from what I've seen.
Yeah, Jerky now going to have the Fate of both worlds for this next fight, but Virtus Pro again are going to keep taxing Na'Vi's approach, trying to force them into using the ultimate, potentially with a Galactic Legend to open things up when Sparker still has cover to be able to play around.
Finzi waiting for the approach. Once again, noting Trust Me's angle. Damage boost given on over. The same for Naga here. So this backline's in deep danger as Trust Me goes towards the back. Sparker's already forced out the Fate of both worlds from the side of Jerky. And everyone can just gather up around the Luna and enjoy copious amounts of healing. Trust Me moving once again to force back Virtus Pro down the corridor. An attempt at rebuffing. And Naga just gets flattened against the wall. Pancaked into some Star-Lord stew. Sparker now ready to go forward. Slowed on down and crossing the boundary, using the iframe to avoid the slow, and then coming back in with Saipe at their back. Extra damage, extra healing, sustainability. The damage boost on the Feast is still easily dealt with by the Magneto. Trust me, not fully controlled just yet, and Naga is able to move away from all this, using the shields of the Wakandan warriors to his advantage. The healing pool of Jeff has gone away, and look at this for Sky High noticing.
Well, that's an early duck teleportation. Oh, Rajaro almost caught Drigro coming out of that one. They're going to be able to catch Navix, though. Naga does get traded by Finzi, however, and Drigro, with the Eternal Bond, also, again, not having to worry about that Magneto, doesn't have to use the last dash to get into cover, and Virtus Pro can play aggressively into Navi's space.
Another big Terror Cape come out, forcing Navi away.
Sparker is so close to building up that Galactic Legend too. However, this time around, when they burn out that Lunar Ultimate, they do have to worry about Trust Me's Feast of the Abyss to sync up with the Lunar Song.
Trust Me's always a worry. Wrapping around the back. Here comes the Galactic Legend, moving in towards the back. You can see that Nemesis has already done some work softening. And now you have to look towards Trust Me as Jerky's going to start moving on forward, ready to damage boost that Feast of the Abyss, but it is a shorter timing now. Quick purple, no. Doesn't seem like it's going to come on through. Instead, they have to try and flee away from what Finzi's bringing to the table. It's going to be the Sonic Seduction, but seems like everyone's managed to get away from it scot-free thus far. Trust Me in the back hasn't been able to convert onto this, but Spark's already fallen on low. Naga taking to the sky and has a great high ground angle to to try and rain down fire upon Virtus Pro. And this entire time, the mission objective has been moving, coming in close for a little bit of melee DPS. Demands that Saipe answer in kind, using the fate of both worlds, but ready to ascend with the Ensong Inferno. The approach of Jeff is absolutely torched underneath the double ultimates of Ensong and Meteor M. Naga dodges away temporarily, and inside the Eternal Bond, there's plenty of space here for Virtus Pro to work with. There's only 6 seconds remaining. This is now must win for the side of Na'Vi. They've chased down Jerky. The remainder of Na'Vi need to clutch up. Trust me, maybe with a quick eat off the Feast of the Abyss, but Naga's down as well. Rajaro doesn't really have the sustainability here. Fate is under pressure from the outside. Demands the healing, demands the Bulwark too. Quickly coming on out. The Feast of the Abyss hasn't got too much. Maybe a return off the back of a portal. It's Naga who's going to be piloting it back here. And Virtus Pro finally, right, the Galactic Legend. And they've decided they're going to try and end the legend of Na'Vi right here. Natus Vincere, born to win. They're just soldiers of victory. But Jerky at the moment just has to hide away like a rat in a swamp in the cellars below, desperately hoping for a little bit of cheese, but they can't quite find it. Virtus Pro hold on second.
Na'Vi had no win condition. Even if they managed to come through with the portal, they weren't close enough to ults. Yes, they had damage boost, but they weren't able to consolidate all of their damage on one specific target because Virtus Pro are just so mobile. And if they have to peel their strategists, who are taking so much pressure from things like the Starlet and the Venom in the backline, they give up their presence on the front line on the objective in overtime, which is something they simply cannot afford to do. Banning that Loki actually coming on through was huge because it meant that when Naga goes for the Doctor Strange, they can't force someone else to swap onto the Loki and have regeneration domain to cushion the fall of everyone from Na'Vi dropping out of the portal.
Oh man, that was such a long hold on second. Admittedly, Virtus Pro did have a reasonable stall on first, although it was never really a winnable scenario. They always just kind of...
Ridro went down once. Cloak and Dagger into Magneto. One singular time they went down, and it was just because Virtus Pro did such a good job of forcing Krisharis Meteor M into things that wasn't the Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah.
Judo held that Eternal Bond every single time afterwards. Meteor M was used immediately. The fight afterwards we got to see, as we're actually getting to see here, I believe that is, yeah, Naga on the Luna just taking a little bit of damage coming in through from those penny mines, so that once the ramp begins, level 1 Crook's going to be able to heal them up and get a little bit of ult charge faster than Virtus Pro's players to quicker build up that first ultimate.
Once again, going to be a singular duelist for Na'Vi, and that's going to be Jerky on the Phoenix, which means Nevix is going to be under constant pressure while those sparks accrue.
Jerky's going to be getting so much pocketing as well, going to be able to put pressure onto Trust Me's dive follow-ups, going to have the mag bubble too, but Virtus Pro, they've already put themselves onto the point. Finzy's taking so much damage, but no one can contest this because if you get close to the ammo, you get grabbed.
Oh, the perfect timing on the grab. They broke on through the Bulwark. Another spinning kick to disengage. No, Rajaro is just being held at gunpoint on the point right now. 80 charge on the beam as well means standing up to Fincy is not an easy task. Level 1 Crook's already been taken on down here as Virtus Pro foil moving in. You can see the symbiotic shenanigans. There's a wrap around the back here from Jerky. Make try and come in at the last moment. 2 ticks have been given away for safety as they try and chase down Nevix. A quick shield is given. The Aegis is good, but Cypher's traded out on the other side. Trust me, taken down, and Jerky can't stand up to the beaming power of Fincy. A telepath that breaks the brains of Na'Vi. Champions made. 5 minutes and 20 to try and get through the next.
VP identified the longer they take for that rotation, the more pressure Na'Vi is going to be able to do with the Mantis damage boost. They have to go fast. They've got the Jeff, they've got the Venom, they've got symbiotic shenanigans, and they have an Emma. Na'Vi, if they try and bounce the point with Venom, gets grabbed. Mag has to be the one to anchor it instead, so Virtus Pro just aggressively walk forward off of all of the sustain that is afforded by a triple stratus composition. And now, because Na'Vi lost so much time, they have to stagger the convoy, which means that the dive is distinct. Trust Me has to go on to the objective, and Virtus Pro can continue to push with the Sonic Seduction before Na'Vi get a win condition.
4 players put in a corner, so they're all eating from the cup of the Blaster Barrage. Taken to the sky once more. Drujo finally dunked on, but it's been a great cost to the side of Na'Vi. Ready to come on down with the Ensong Inferno. There's a rescue that's given over by Jerky, and Fate's there as well to help it happen. Saipe, with the fate of both worlds, just going to shepherd everyone
Galactic
away.
Legends free.
Chaperone them.
The second invisible boundary is done. Galactic Legend is free. Out comes Feast of the Abyss. It isn't enough to be able to find those picks. And here comes Parker, forcing Na'Vi to reposition the ultimate entirely.
Rajro given on over. Fate of Both Worlds has to be used to answer the damage that Sparker's bringing up now. And Sparker just goes for a quick disengage. Knows what they can grab, trust me. It was too far away from Luna. The tracking is so solid. Virtus Pro, they've got their mojo back now. They're trying to chase down level 1. Krug puts a sedation down behind them. But Nevix is still hot on their tails. Jerky trying their best to escape. But the mind beam of the Emma is unyielding in the face of danger. The cart still rolls on fourth.
Na'Vi have the Ensong Inferno, but the Phoenix was the thing that went down last. They don't have it up just yet. Beast of the Abyss comes on through from Nevix. Trust me, has to dive past the entire team onto the objective. The Virtus Pro just get to hold on to their ultimates. Bull, Psionic Seduction, and Na'Vi have no CC immunity to answer.
Quick grabbing of the Sentience. Nevix towards the bag. Level 1 Crook down to only 1 HP. The sedation is good. Jerky's taking down Saipe in the midst of all of this. And up comes the invisible boundary for a momentary reprieve for Na'Vi. A little bit of breathing room, thinking time for Trust Me to try and formulate a brand new plan. It seems to have worked out here as Virtus Pro run low on momentum.
Yeah, Virtus Pro also going to potentially get staggered as well. Dridro falls down late. Na'Vi now get an opportunity to hold a little bit closer against Virtus Pro, force the ultimate, and then just disengage back to the objective without needing to mirror.
Saipe watching from afar, maybe trying to bait Trust Me into a particularly deep dive, but the sparks being accrued does mean that Jerky is keeping this one at danger. Trust Me once again demands the usage of the Ice Darts. That's a lot of self-healing that's going to be gone away. Trust Me, do they want to try and deal with this one? Galactic Legend versus Galactic Legend. Jerky's forced to move away. Now it's going to be the Sonic Seduction coming on through. Rajaro and Fincy both using this. The invincibility, at least for CC immunity, could be everything. Spark looking towards the back. There are bubbles everywhere to try and heal themselves, but a 2 versus 1's not quite fair. Fire working around the outside. Doesn't want to commit to it. Instead, it's just going to be able to heal from the back, lay down that additional damage and the additional healing. As Fincy moves forward, a spinning kick onto 2. No, a good dodge coming through from Fate. Heads up play from the strategists.
Big picks as well coming on through from Jerky, swapping over to that Phoenix who has so much damage boost. Just gets to take that high ground angle too, again, to put the pressure onto Virtus Pro when they're stacked rotating away. That's going to build another Ensong Inferno. And off of the back of the damage boost from level 1 Crook, that's going to be more than enough to find a pick onto Virtus Pro and potentially force Tridro as well into holding onto Cloak Form rather than Dagger, removing the opportunity to heal.
Yeah. Holding the peril of the of the Cloak and Dagger can be everything. Symbiotic Shenanigans already used to try and deal with a soft dive of Trust Me. Big resource already expended, but Trust Me's had to respond in kind, using their E, the Symbiotic Resilience, to get that additional HP as Sparker slowly erodes all of his space. Nevix tries to convert onto level 1 Croak, but the healing is just too much here, and Jerky is just feeling free as a bird, able to just rain down from on top. Here comes the Galactic Legend, and I think that this is already cooked.
Yeah, and I mean, they're just holding on to Ensong Inferno too, because Galactic Legend wouldn't find a pick for a Strategist ultimate. Ensong Inferno, damage boosted and combined with Feast of the Abyss, absolutely will, as we're going to be seeing Na'Vi now holding up close to try and force Virtus Pro into expending their ultimates before the fight properly moves into the mix. Either Sparker's Galactic Legend or Tridro is going to be the target of Aya to try and burn the Eternal Bond dashes before it can get to the objective.
Fincy maybe exploited early here after having used their own shield. Doesn't want to use for Diamond Form. Instead, looking towards Dridro, moving towards the back. Remember, there's no meteor, and this time around, here comes the Galactic Legend. This time from Sparker, but inside of the invisible boundary, the healing's not really going to be anything to worry about. Level 1 Crook grab Fate as well. Oh, that's 2 strategists who are down, and 2 strategists all they have because they're running with double duelists at the moment. Na'Vi are running low on these players, but the carts move back so far they might have a last chance saloon to try and keep this one contested, especially with the efforts of Trust Me.
Oh, but they need the Venom to pair with the Phoenix for this next ultimate cycle. Virtus Pro might be able to come in for a fight. He's going to eat the teleport, and he eats level 1 Crook too, which means that the Mantis can't damage boost. Virtus Pro are so close to being able to get the finish line, and Na'Vi can't touch.
Oh, they're nowhere near. Heads up play from Fi on the Land Shark. Na'Vi being hoisted by their own petard here. They showed the world the power of Jeff, and when the siren song called, Virtus Pro listened, and they listened good. For their first time, they are in a lead in the series against Na'Vi.
Huge plays coming on through from Virtus Pro. Salt in the wounds as well, by the way. When Rad originally beat Virtus Pro, they did it with Cloak and Dagger. Judro is on Cloak and Dagger, so not only has the Jeff strategy been turned now against Na'Vi, so too has the CD, and Judro was absolutely huge there, coming on through with the Eternal Bond to pave the way for Virtus Pro to walk forward, and Finzi to get to actually close up the distance onto Na'Vi's players and use Psionic Seduction to catch on to multiple players. Blind comes out from Judro onto Trust Me as well, so they can keep up the pressure onto the Venom. He doesn't get all of that sight to be able to figure out where exactly he needs to swing away from to be able to survive, but hands down, play of the game has to go to Fi on that Jeff, because eating that teleport attempt was absolutely massive for Virtus Pro to be able to continue that fight.
Yeah, that would have been the only way for Trust Me to really get back in good time and combine with the Insong Inferno to have any real fragging power. Fi, I called it out on Midtown. Bro's got a shark in the back pocket. Doesn't always have to be Dredro, apparently, getting some real value, and it allows Spark to really roam free on the hit scan of the startup, where he can really put on his carry pants.
Yeah, and Saipe is also on the Lunar Snow, which means that he doesn't need perma LOS on his Star-Lord. So every single time you can see Sparker's health bar, there's just that little snowflake icon directly above it, which means that the second Saipe starts healing his Vanguards, Sparker gets 35% of every single one of those heals trickled his way too, and those stack as well. So if he takes a direct hit of healing from the Luna, he actually gets 135% heal benefit.
And you know those direct hits are coming from Saipe. Bro's a mechanical demon when it comes to the strategists. But now Na'Vi, they're up against an unconventional amount of pressure compared to how comfortable they felt in EMEA so far, really being the kings of our little region as far as we've been concerned so far. But VP, this is the match we were promised. When we first saw Na'Vi versus VP, it ended up at 2-0. We're like, okay, are we cooked? No, we are not cooked. We are so back, Mark.
We've never been so back, especially because we've now done all three of our map types, which means domination comes back into the cycle. I thoroughly expect us to see going to a domination map. Whether or not Na'Vi are on the same page, we'll have to see after. We'll be back after this short break.
I can feel the rapacious and grasping tentacles of the gods of vengeance hearkening to us, Mox. Already one bout of vengeance has been grabbed by Citadel in a banger series, but yet another could be found here by the Bears, who have finally woken from their post-mid-season slumber.
Yeah, and that Eldritch imagery might continue if we go to a domination map, because Hell's Heaven is still up for grabs, as too is Krakoa. I feel like if you're Na'Vi, Krakoa would be the better option, especially because that was the map where you did really just absolutely steamroll VP off of Virtus.pro trying to play that torch composition. But again, like looking now at the perspective we're seeing from Virtus.pro's compositions today, I don't know if it would be as different in terms of point percentage the way we saw previously, now that Spark has moved over to the Star-Lord.
Yeah, Sparker moving over onto the Star-Lord, playing a little bit of the Winter Soldier as well. And, you know, when we look at these games, we've got to remember that, like, losing that heavily on Krakoa gives a lot of very easy means of identifying improvement for Virtus.pro when they're moving between these series, like how we can tighten up our gameplay, where we really got exploited, and what counter strats we have to try and deal with that. Because it seems like Trust Me is being a lot more accounted for on these dives. We've seen consistently double, triple CCs go on to Trust Me on the Venom, even though that was on Hall of Jalia. But we are continually seeing these resources being used to get that early advantage and exploit the aggression that Trust Me brings to the table.
Yeah, they're planning for the soft dives. Like, they're really doing a good job of scouting the Venom. And as we talked about, like, Ultron is really, really good for scouting positions, but so too is Star-Lord, because again, he's playing up in the sky. He's trying to play around cover as well. So a lot of the pathing and rotations that a Venom is likely going to be trying to take to get into a backline unnoticed, Star-Lord is more than likely going to be able to catch, in comparison to something like an EMEA or a Magneto, whose entire vantage point is essentially the space in front of them.
Yeah, like they have their zone of control, but it could be very limited by their range, and also they can't really affect doors that are so far away. And that's one of the reasons why we've seen the pivot over towards prioritizing the Luna as well, because it allows for Sparker to take these far-ranging kind of skirmishes, knowing that you have Nevix on the other side playing the Venom, and Venom's just going to soak so much damage, which means he can soak a bunch of healing, and that can be delivered very easily over to someone who's going to benefit from it a lot more in these kind of narrow doors like Sparker.
That, and because Na'Vi, when they've dived with multiple players on like one specific target, so being able to come on through on that Luna and having the pierce means that Cypher's ultimate is generating insanely quickly, because it's not just healing your friendly teammate, it's damaging every single body, trying to stack damage on them at the same time.
Yeah, like, the Luna just brings so much to the table, as well as having, we could argue, the best ultimate in the game. Like,
yeah, though it's 2 seconds shorter now, but yes, yeah. it's still incredibly strong, and she is still incredibly potent.
If you took a wing mirror off a Ferrari, I'm still taking the Ferrari.
Unfortunately, Loki did kind of get the shovel in terms of his position. We still see him from time to time, you know, if a strange portal goes through and you need to choose your ultimate economy because you're already on an atom composition and Soulbind's on cooldown, Regeneration Domain is a great opportunity. But hey, look, there we go. Krakoa comes on through. Na'Vi looking to transport us back to the past where they played against Virtus.pro, and it was a clean 100-0.
Yeah, that was an uninspiring showing last time around, but a little bit stronger this time. Looks like Virtus.pro really are up on top of it, and of course we are going to be banning the Jeff first, which means it's going to be a pivot over onto the Mantis. Question is, are Virtus.pro willing to match Mantis? I don't think we've seen too much of it from them so far.
We'll have to wait and see, as their first save now comes on for banning out that Ultron to make that Star-Lord, if it does come down to a duel, a little bit weaker. As yeah, I was going to say, Mantis having the damage boost can do an awful lot in terms of things like the neutral and being able to stack more damage, breaking through those health bars and strategist ultimates a little bit easier. But the Luna being able to give so much space control for Sparker to just do whatever he so pleases, and the healing output of Fate of both worlds to be able to live through things like Galactic Legend coming through from Na'Vi's end, you don't want to pass that up.
Yeah, this might also make a force for Na'Vi to have to ban the Jeff as well. Adam's going to come away from both sides. Maybe Virtus.pro can walk away for Jeff here as well. So that means that Fi still has a comfort pick. as a tertiary strategist, and
They've got the Venom as well, if they want to. Ooh, 2-2-2 composition coming on through, as Venom has not yet been targeted. Na'Vi getting that Mantis likely also want to claim the Venom for themselves so that they can have damage boosted Feast of the Abyss. So going for the Invis and the Luna, who can chain together CC against the Venom, is a very good choice. With that in mind, I was about to say, do Na'Vi ban out something like the Emmet Frost? But no, they are going to ban out the Star-Lord so that Sparker doesn't get the opportunity to go for that and might be forced onto the Torch, which we've already seen Na'Vi be able to deal with handily.
My bad, got hit with a heavy brain fart after Jeff bans there. Okay, now who will Na'Vi feed? Okay, Star-Lord taken away from both teams.
That's a good ban.
Yeah, it does mean that there's going to be a lot of capacity for these soft dives from Trust Me to really be reinforced from the buffed up regeneration domains, but Virtus Pro has shown that they can deal with that so far. Fincy moving over onto the Emma Frost has definitely been a big part of it, threatening constantly that Carbon Crush.
I was about to say, if Virtus Pro want to go back once again and try and run this Torch and Ultron, they need to ban out the Star-Lord, and that is indeed the ban that they go for, as Galactic Legend would have been able to target both the Ultron and the Torch if they're not able to make it to their Strategist Ultimates in time, and sometimes that window of opportunity is just not enough for the healing to kick on through. So I'm a big fan now of getting to see that composition, but again, if it plays into a retake situation, it is still going to struggle off of, one, being able to be scouted out, and two, being denied spam angles without pressure, which means that you don't get to always hold ultimate economy of things like Supernova and Rage of Ultron against your opponent's head.
And sometimes being able to have the threat, the implication can be everything, Mox, that you know those things are coming. So you've got to conserve this resource or that resource to try and deal with it when it inevitably comes. And if it never does, maybe you're holding on to that for a little bit too long as we roll out on Krakoa.
Virtus Pro as well, with that Human Torch, are going to be able to put more pressure onto Na'Vi, trying to bounce the point between that Vanguard with the Pyro Prison onto the point itself. The last time they got griefed if these fights went long because Na'Vi had the Adam and was just able to sustain the fight with Soulbind into Karmic Revival. This time, that's not on the table either, so Virtus Pro's ban draft has really adapted ever since the last time these two teams met.
This time it's Naga on the Luna. Able to easily answer the Trust Me soft dive here. Just gets out of dodge real quick. 5 back on the Human Torch. Just going to be able to look towards Naga. In the back, quite the hot drop on top of level 1 Crook. Detonates the hot spots that were left behind. And Nevix now keeping the risk factor up for the Luna before peeling back for a little bit of anti-dive. Remember that Guardian Shield is slowing when someone does move on through it. Fincy needs a little bit of HP here. And well, with 100 charge, she just burned through Rajaro.
It's also AoE healing both Trudro and Saipe. So trust me, without anything to actually follow up on his dive, because level 1 Crook got picked earlier by Fi on the Human Torch, Mantis can't self-heal. The only way she self-heals is if she doesn't take damage for a time frame. Unfortunately, that Torch is going to always be opening that window and making sure that level 1 Crook never gets the opportunity to self-sustain, as Virtus Pro in control of the fight. Sparker already with the Rage of Ultron 75%. Nevix soft diving jerky as well to prevent the Phoenix attention draw, allowing Na'Vi to walk forward, and Fight forces regen domain.
Yeah, Regent Domain already used. It will have conferred a little bit of damage boost elsewhere, of course. However, Spark around that. This is so aggressive. Right on top of Rajaro. No chance of surviving this one. The Rage of Ultron, it's too great. I think that maybe Streedro getting their ultimate forced here is a small win for Na'Vi.
No CC immunity against the Psionic Seduction. Coming on through from Na'Vi. Fate's actually going to be swapping. In fact, we're going to be... Ooh.
We're going to be looking at the fireworks?
We're going to be looking at the shiny lights, as Virtus Pro in the next fight are going to be looking at the very shiny lady. Rajaro are going to have that Psionic Seduction to open things up, and Virtus Pro are going to have to make sure that they're increasing as much distance between themselves and the Emma as possible while still controlling the point.
Yeah, going to have to be quite the relay race between the Vanguards and potentially Fire to keep this one contested. Nevix might want to try and strike first. And moving over onto the immobile Vanguard to begin with. The Magneto putting out a little bit of pressure with their Iron Volleys. You can see that Nevix is ready to go with their own ultimate now as well. Could take themselves towards the back, but knows that those greens are still available. Still goes for a chomp. And out comes the Regeneration Domain, as promised previously. Jerky heading towards the back, an air-to-air missile taken down before they can quite contest. And now it's down to the mechanics of Fire to try and make it work. And the mechanics are good. Two players grab their minds controlled, but Pretty Lady demands their attention. And even with the fate of both worlds to be decided, only fate that I see after 14,601 tries is a thorough wiping of Na'Vi from this point. Jerky will return with the help of the pentagram of Farala, but the damage has already been done, and Vince is already here body blocking. Spinning kick to try and keep players away. The pushback is good, and Virtus Pro, the Bears are certainly roaring.
Oh, Virtus Pro from getting 0 to 100 to 100 to 0, removing the Adam, removing the Star-Lord means that there is so less pressure on the Torch and Ultron composition. Fire has done 4,500 damage and 0 eliminations were taken Navi's way. Virtus Pro don't lose a single player, the entire point percentage. Nevix 2 coming on through with the Feast of the Abyss so that he can keep Navi's backline attention when the Sonic Seduction is coming through into their retake and they don't get to play off of the EMEA ult, opening the space and letting them aggressively run onto VP and challenge either the Vanguards or the Flyers who could be a little bit weaker. Great plays coming on through from Virtus Pro. Na'Vi are going to have to try and figure out some way of dealing with this, and already I can see a Captain America. Maybe we're going to get the full Captain America dive composition coming on through from Na'Vi to hit the backline, or Jerky going over to that Psylocke is going to be looking to pressure out the Flyers.
Yeah, Sparker, currently sitting on the ace, I believe, needs the attention of Jerky.
Oh, he's already looking for the Human Torch, but you have to worry because Rage of Ultron's built for Sparker. Na'Vi don't have a single ultimate to force it. Yep.
Jerky noted on the approach as well. They can just hang out on these treetops until those trees are broken. Hot drop could be on the table, dropping straight on in. The Rage of Ultron ready to go. They want Jerky real bad, but the healing is really good. And Cyber's been taken out on the other side by Jerky. Naga just managing to survive that one. I forgot they swapped around who was playing what. And now it just seems like this one's clean. The addition of the chaos factor from Captain America changes everything.
Yeah, the Captain America can go bait Virtus Pro to have to peel and just go for the patty cake of the Invis and the Luna, which then means that the Torch is left with the Ultron against the ire of the Psylocke, and we can already see Virtus Pro going to be changing things up. Sparker over to the Winter Soldier to be able to deal with the Psylocke and Captain America better, but Fire's already taken down now that he doesn't have the Ultron pocket.
And these streets got hands. Absolute mugging there. And now they're moving up onto this high ground control. Sparker on the Winter Soldier. An earlier adaptation when we saw last time, where Virtus Pro doggedly stuck to their previous composition and got summarily destroyed on the carousel.
Can he manage to find a grab onto Fate on that Invis boundary? You have to worry too about Fire on that Flyer against now. A Psylocke with Dance of the Butterflies. Virtus Pro stacking their players in case it comes from prematurely. Not wanting to take that fight. Already scouted on out. The spark starting to come on through from Naga. And it's going to be a back disengage call from Jerky as well.
Yeah, Nevix taken out before the healing could really reach them. Seems like it's going to be way lane before it can really impact elsewhere. Dance for the Butterflies good to go, and Vince is already down, so Jerky's just going to keep this one in the back pocket for later.
Oh yeah, Jerky doesn't even have to worry about Invisible Boundary or Fate of both worlds now either. He might honestly just use it against Fire's Supernova, as Sparker is going to be going over to the Psylocke trying to aggressively follow off the Nevix now.
2-2-2 for both teams. Triple Strategist has fallen by the wayside, but look at this. Absolute troll toll having to be paid as you go through Naga's field of vision. Those sparks accrue so quickly. Spark is actually maybe on marking Trust Me duty here, which could have some real value.
Trust Me does have Freedom Charge though. So far Na'Vi hasn't been forced into using an ultimate. There goes the Supernova. Freedom Charge is going to try and let them live through it. And Jerky with the Dance of the Butterflies just means that Virtus Pro, even off of the spacing brought to them by the Torch ultimate, don't get to do anything on the actual objective with it.
Disengagement speed was good, but the Vanguards had to be on the objective because we're so close to 100%. Redro not going to be long for this world when Jerky's elsewhere. A leisurely stroll back for the Queen of Diamonds as the remainder of Na'Vi are happy to do the work, and 100-0 is met by 100-0.
It is just a back and forth and back and forth. Virtus Pro got the better Bandroth composition going into Carousel, and Na'Vi coming into Grove instantly changed up their composition. The Captain America and the Psylocke have been doing so much. Virtus Pro went from not having a single elimination against them to losing players multiple times. That is a big turnaround off of just the pressure that this divers bring, because the more that you look at the Psylocke and the Captain America, the less focus goes out onto that Phoenix, and Naga pumped out the damage that round.
Starlock rearing up her head. Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. Still a menace on domination. Virtus Pro. Perhaps a little bit shell-shocked to be hit with such a uncanny reversal.
Virtus Pro now have to figure out some form of evolving this composition. Na'Vi had the adaptation. We're able to find the success. It's now up to VP to be able to do the same. Nevix is going to be starting things off, going for the strange portal, potentially looking for a mugging onto one of Na'Vi's players, as it is going to be a little bit of a game pause coming on through. The problem for Virtus Pro is that if you try and portal directly onto Na'Vi, then you're going to get hit by Sonic Seduction.
Yeah, the Sonic Seduction really can be troublesome. Admittedly, in this first fight while you're playing with the Doctor Strange, you do have the best counterplay in the form of a Shield of a Seraphim, which is the most reliable shielding that can cover up multiple members and still only take a moderate amount of damage, but that will be carved through real quickly by a Psylocke and a Phoenix.
Yeah, and I mean, if you don't try and teleport on top of them, then Na'Vi are going to be able to utilize the zoning potential of Psionic Seduction to be able to lock themselves at point, and it becomes a matter of bouncing objective between all of their moving components while also diving Virtus Pro's every single approach. It is incredibly hard. The chokes on Cradle are so unforgiving in the same manner that we see them if you lose these fights prematurely on the other submaps.
Yeah, like the first fight is just so important, and that's why we often see like big, almost like sunk cost ultimate investments between teams when it seems like it's lost, but maybe they can clutch it out, because in the end, sometimes just having control of the map from that defensive position is even more valuable than having a distinct ultimate advantage.
Yeah, because if you manage to find the control of the spacing in the first fight, you can delay the second until you've built up an ultimate economy that will allow you to take it somewhat competitively, as opposed to if you lose the first fight, every single time you walk in, you're already at a disadvantage in terms of space that you control. So inside your duels with your vanguards and your duelists, you're always going to be taking increased damages. Indeed, there it is! Portal directly onto Na'Vi. Finzi with the diamond bomb already going to be able to find the spinning kick, but Naga with the end song Inferno finding eliminations onto VP2. And as we talked about, sunk cost fallacy from both of these teams. The ultimate dump is extreme.
Well, trust me, it's going to be able to hold this one for a while. I don't think the Fire's going to be able to get back through that portal. So 4 players actually remaining here for Virtus Pro. They do get the first cappers. Trust me, fleas.
Yeah, Sparker is going to be able to build up the Dance of the Butterflies in no time at all as well, off of pressure, keeping Na'Vi's Captain America and Psylocke in check on those lane fights, as he doesn't want to have Saipe get inted onto Innocent Viz Woman and force into using Boundary out of sync with the team and the objective.
Jerky noted, and you better believe it, trust me, was pinged on the entry there. Big ultimate potentially for Nevix in the future. Oh, the headshot onto Fate. Great casualty guaranteed, and there's going to be the forcing of a diamond form for that additional damage reduction. Rajara needs to get out of this one, and Sparker really is noting the overall value of the Psylocke. He was always a believer. He was always the avatar of Shinobi dominance that we would always cite when we talked about top Psylocks, and now they're ready to bring it to Jerky.
Yeah, he would always get the most amount of Psylocke banned against him. All the way back in stage 1. Na'Vi too, because they're not able to formulate these dives without being scouted by Nevix and being counter-dove upon, don't get the opportunities to try and pressure Dridra and Saipe into burning these ultimates. So both strategist ults are going to be in play for Virtus Pro, even if they force Dridra into burning theirs. It's just going to be able to line up with Nevix for the Feast of the Abyss damage boost. Na'Vi not to get scouted, use the teleport, and now position the point and themselves in between Virtus Pro's flip.
Oh, having to share out these slashes from the 1,000-folded steel at Spark around the back. Are they going to try and burst through Rajara? It might be too risky. Uses their extra clone to try and get a little bit more spacing to work with. Nevix temporarily grabbed just in time. Has access to the symbolic resilience. And now all shall burn before the Phoenix flies ready to descend to the back line. Big combo coming through. The damage is not good. Oh, the healing's not even better though. Great cellular corrosion. Nevix picks up 2. Pays for it with their life as they're turned around upon here, and Virtus Pro are forced to spend everything to try and survive, but they still can't get it done. Na'Vi flip at 92%.
I don't know if Finzi started actually casting that portal. We sadly don't get to see the strange cooldown at the moment, but we've already seen from Virtus.pro being able to confirm that point and control it for 92%. Na'Vi might well be able to find the same extension of point percentage. Virtus.pro pulling attention away from the regrouping players coming through from Choke. Go to the point and force Na'Vi's hand to take the fight, which means that they've been able to regroup and make a play for the objective when Spark was so close to ult.
Jerky taking pressure from around the back, building up of sparks. So cellular corrosion is used on up. That's going to be a quick freeze onto Nevix, and there's Naga ready to try and finish him off with the extra melees. Trust me, slammed down into the ground, but Jerky demands attention elsewhere. So Fi can't finish off their meal. Now they're just going to try and slice on through. Sparker is going to be able to get big damage out of a dash right here. Rajara's already been taken down. You saw the distraction came through too. Naga level 1, Crook and Fate find themselves far away from Finzy's auspices, and so they can't have their ultimate suppressed. Saipe take him down, and that forces their ultimate off the field as there's going to be an attempt to recontest here from Rajaro. Virtus.pro critically in the midst of all this have flipped over the point in their favor, so Na'Vi need to stay contesting inside the invisible boundary, preferably as Fate's ultimate dissipates. Level 1 Crook levied against by the Psionic crossbows, coming in close but taken down as Naga turns it once again.
Oh, that flip was huge. That fight went so long. Sparker was the hero. Went into Na'Vi so far away from the point, and every single person had to be off of the objective in the backline, stacking and absorbing all of those dash damages. And Virtus.pro now need one fight win. They've already been able to force the teleport from Na'Vi's end. They've got the Endsong Inferno. They have the Feast of the Abyss. Give it a matter of moments. Sparker's got the Dance of the Butterflies. This falls to Na'Vi. They have to scout the dive.
The dive has to be scouted. Already Jerky forced to disengage. Nevik looking towards the back. Feast of the Abyss ready to go. They desperately want level 1 Crook. They can't quite convert. Trust me. Rebuffs it all with the Freedom Charge. Democracy sound rings out around the cradle here as Virtus.pro have to readjust themselves to the incoming damage. A big pull here onto Captain America, but he manages to escape once more with the help of a sprint, sharing out the damage. It's slash after slash, and Fi from the sky strikes down with blazing fury. Na'Vi might be born to win, but now they're born to burn. They'll drop from the sky for a last moment contest, but Naga is naught but an avenging Icarus, flailing against the unyielding rays of the sun. The bears, they rise up on their hind legs and say, you may be born to win, but you're not going to be winning this one. And they roar for victory.
The Feast of the Abyss forcing Freedom Charge, that's the break point. That's all that Virtus.pro needed. Force the Captain America, the one sustain ultimate that was available for Na'Vi, and then combine Endsong Inferno and Dance of the Butterflies. BP were able to get into the entirety of the backline, even through the contest fight, coming on out of the Psylocke 1 versus 1, but the Psylocke was clearing. The Psylocke wasn't clearing Nevix on that Venom, who was the absolute Hail Mary that Virtus.pro needed to be able to barge through that fight with the better ultimates. And off of the back of that, Virtus.pro break from tradition and will be able to find the win against Na'Vi. We don't go 5 maps. It's finished here and now.
Virtus.pro need to release an official form to apologize to Blaney. If you've been coming through in chat, tell them, Blaney, how Virtus.pro should play this one. Looks like they got a really good idea of where their strengths are here. In the match that matters, the big seeding given over, Virtus.pro are going to be your #1 seed coming out of Group B.
I mean, the Human Torch angle, we did see it, and I said the second I saw the solid one, I was like, okay, this plan can work now. You don't have to worry as much. You do still have to worry about the Psylocke. You absolutely do still have to worry about the Psylocke. But Starlord is much more of a problem for so many compositions in comparison to the Psylocke, who really does need things like the Feast of the Abyss or Endsong Inferno to be contributed into to have all of that damage stacked on up to find those eliminations. Honestly, like Virtus.pro utilizing the Dance of the Butterflies to be able to find that point flip as well on the third fight coming over from Sparker was a stroke of genius, because it meant that the longer the fight went on, not only are Na'Vi going to be pressured into having to burn out the strange teleport, which they were the only ones to have that cooldown up available, so they had the better in terms of numbers and regroup potential. It also meant that the longer the fight went, the more percentage that VP would be able to accrue, and the amount of sunk cost fallacy ultimates Na'Vi would feel pressured into throwing in to guarantee that they won it and got the flip back afterwards. Huge plays.
It was ridiculous. Like, honestly, seeing the pros react to like the nerf to a wing shogun's like, okay, yeah, maybe we'll leave Psylocke, and like, okay, maybe we have some of the best mechanical Psylocke in the world, so maybe we will start using the Psylocke. Okay, maybe we're gonna mirror a Psylocke because this seems to be doing really well here, and it's great to see Virtus Pro kind of embracing what made them such a formidable team to begin with, and really going back to that identity and being rewarded for it.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes to show as well, like, the clear struggle that they had over the past couple of the days was going for a specific composition and leaving in ban drafts the things that directly and most effectively took them out. Trying to lean on the Human Torch is more than fine. We've seen it find so much value in things like Human Torch and Phoenix 222 compositions being able to have enough damage in the neutral and the ultimate cycles to go head-to-head with the sustainability that a triple strategist composition pulls. Where it struggled, even though they had things like the Ultron, was that Star-Lord was left on the table. That Cloak and Dagger was the strategist that they were forced into trying to play around, meaning that the Human Torch never got that angle to get healed when the ultimates came through, was always vulnerable. And when you're playing Human Torch, you either win by the Human Torch or you lose by the Human Torch. Great adjustments coming on through from Virtus Pro.
Yeah, huge fan of this. Well, what a series, especially considering that Na'Vi kind of picked up that early lead on domination. We thought, okay, we're going back to domination, we're going back to Krakoa, and like we mentioned earlier, like, losing as heavily as Virtus Pro did last Krakoa gives you so many options for like your incremental improvements, because like, okay, we got outdone here, this is how we can change our draft, maybe this is how our positioning didn't work out and how we got kind of pranked by soft dives, and it seems that the work has been put in to really tighten up the screws on Krakoa, especially against a team as good at the in and outs that Na'Vi has.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that they put in significant work to be able to improve incredibly quickly too, which means I cannot wait to get to talk to them and ask what exactly has been going on behind the scenes that allowed Virtus Pro to be able to find that win, as I believe we've got Nevix on the line who will be joining us for an interview today.
Hey Nevix, nice to hear from you, buddy. Congratulations on the win. And since we just came off Krakoa, what changed between the last time you guys played Krakoa and this Krakoa?
I think this time we banned Jeff, which was a big part. I think that guy is very strong right now. I think our draft before was pretty bad, so we worked on it overnight, and it felt a lot better this time.
So, without obviously spilling all of the secret sauce, what do you mean by, you say, worked on draft? Did you basically run through so many formulas, or was there like one specific person on the team who looked at all of the team drafts and went, okay, in the past we should have done this, this, and this?
So it's really just the team coming together and trying to understand like which line of bans you want to do to get the worst triple support, pretty much, because that's what it comes down to on this meta, especially on the more open maps and the domination maps. The triple support comps are very strong, so you need to respect them. So you can't really afford other bans or like a bad line, we noticed.
How have you guys decided to divvy up who's playing duelist when between Fire and Spark? We've seen Fire as a single duelist, we've seen Spark as a single duelist, and we've seen double duelist at the end of Krakoa.
Yeah, I mean, they both play a lot of the support character or duelists and strategists. So like they mix and match however they feel, whatever they feel like. So it's a little bit random sometimes, but I don't know, we can do whatever.
So we saw on both rounds of Krakoa for the first, you guys got 100-0, and then Na'Vi walked away 100-0. What do you think changed? Why were you so dominant in the first round, and then Na'Vi was able to find the momentum in the second?
So they changed their comp. In the beginning, they ran Loki, which was pretty punchable against Venom and like two flyers. It's really hard for Loki to find his spot. So they changed to double to two supports, which they had like Luna Invis, which is really strong. So that's why both teams ended up on 2-2 in this game. And Phoenix like controls way more space, has a lot more pressure. So that's what they swapped with.
Obviously, except for you guys, who I assume are going to go to LAN, of course, there are two other spots in EMEA. And there are a lot of very good teams here in EMEA. Who else do you think would be joining you in DreamHack Atlanta?
My odds, or my bet is on it's Citadel or Shot. But I think Citadel is slightly better, but it's really close between those teams, as we saw before. But it has to be one of those for sure.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Nevix, and congratulations on your vengeance. We look forward to seeing you in the playoff bracket.
All right, thank you, guys.
That was Nevix Vanguard for Virtus Pro. And, well, those Eldritch Gods of Vengeance, Mox, they did get their feast today. 2 comeback stories. A 3-1 in favor of Virtus Pro and a 3-2 revenge for Citadel up against Chop.